Let's continue our study into rational numbers. What have we done so far? We've looked at a few things. We've looked at fractions. We've looked at decimals. We've touched upon integers and square roots briefly. Again, we're going to look at square roots later on. We have analyzed we've analyzed ratios. We've looked at those. And now we're going to dive into percents. I'm going to teach you a few things in this lesson. I'm going to teach you how to draw percents, how to show it using a picture. I'm going to also show you how to turn percents into fractions, decimals, and ratios. I'm going to teach you that. I'm also going to teach you how to arrange numbers in order when some of them are percents, some of them are ratios, some of them are decimals, and some are fractions. How to put those numbers in order and sort them. Let's get started. It's interesting to note, and I think this is a good place to start, that the word percent has a very interesting meaning. Look at the symbol for percent, first of all. That line represents 1. Those two circles represent zeros. Isn't that cool? I thought that was cool the first time I learned it. It's also valuable to know that the word per means every. It's like a ratio. You're comparing something. The word cent means 100. So put them together, you've got every 100. Like a fraction. It's almost like saying it's out of 100. It's like an exam, right? An exam that's out of 100 will have a line. Your mark will be above the line, and the denominator will be the score altogether. It'll be 100 questions, for instance. That's the meaning of percent. Anything that's out of 100 is called a percent. Let me show you what that looks like in picture form. If I was to shade those boxes in, like that, if I was to shade them in, I would have shaded 20 boxes. There's 100 altogether. That means that my percentage is going to be, what do you think? Absolutely, it's going to be 20 shaded out of 100 altogether. That's going to be instantly known as 0.20. Why is that? That's the fraction form. That's the decimal form. Because look, you have 20 out of 100. That's 20 hundredths. Look at the decimal spots here. We've got decimal. The first spot is the tenth. The second spot's the hundredth. They match. 20 hundredths, 20 hundredths. As a percent, I should have written that down first, but 20% means 20 out of 100. You literally can take a look at this picture, see that 20 are shaded out of 100, and say it's 20% because it's 20 out of 100. Very simple in that sense. We can also represent this as a ratio. How do we do that? Well, you can take your fraction and literally write it as a ratio. 20 ... 100. That would be 20%. That would be 20%. And this is 20%. All of these state 20% because they are all 20 out of 100. This, however, would not get you full marks because you always need to reduce your fractions. You reduce 20 out of 100, you got to figure out what to divide both numbers by to shrink them down. And the best number to do that is 20. You divide 20 by 20, that gets you 1. You divide 100 by 20, that gets you 5. And as a ratio, that's 1.5. I'm putting it all together right now so that it's easier later on when we look at these examples. 120, let's put the percent symbol. You know when you're a coach, you've probably seen in the movies, or if you play sports, your coach tells you, I want 120% effort. I want 120% from you guys. What he really means is he wants all of your effort. So that means we're going to shade all of this. That's 100%. He wants all of your effort plus some more. Plus 20% more. We've got 120% right here. This is 20 out of 100. That's 100. 20%. We can show it like this. This is 100%. Funny looking symbol there. And this is 20%. You put them together, you've got 120%. As a decimal, makes 1.20. Yep. 1.20. As a fraction, it makes 100. Now, I'm running out of space here. I'm going to put it here. This is 120%. Percent means out of 100, right? So what do you think it's going to look like as a fraction? This, right? Yeah, you can do that. You can you can make the top bigger than the bottom. That's allowed. It's an improper fraction. That just means you have more than 100. And then reduce it. What would it turn into? We can break this in half. We can break that in half. Look, we can just divide by 20, right? Divide the top by 20. You're going to get 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120. You're going to get 60. Divide the bottom by 20. Or hold on a second. I messed up here. Let's go back. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120. That's going to be 6. 6 times. If I divide by 20. Let's go divide. Let's change this color here. Let's go divide by 20 and divide this by 20. And that's going to break down into 6 and the denominator will be 5. So as a ratio, you can just write 6.5. That's the best way to show that. Let's turn all of these into percents. This should be simple now. 26 out of 100. Simple enough. 26%. It's great when the denominator is 100 because you can just rip just whatever the top number is, right? This one isn't so simple because we don't have 100 here. It's still 26 on the top, but we need 100 on the denominator. So what do you think we should do? Equivalent fractions. That's why we learned that stuff, because now we can use it, and we're going to get 52 out of 100, which is 52%. We can write that in. What do you think 20 out of 25 will be? Yeah, we can times that by 4. That makes 100. And we can times that by 4, and that'll make 80. So if you've got 20 out of 25 on a test, you've got yourself 80%, baby. That's 80%. How about 3 out of 4? That's not 100. Don't say it's 3%. It's not. We can times this by what? We need 100 on the denominator. Right, 25. That makes 100. We repeat it on the top, and we get 75%. 75%. Let's multiply this now. We got to change it to 100. That's going to be 20 times. And times this by 20, you're going to get 60 out of 100, which is 60%. You need to be comfortable turning numbers into hundreds. The 4, the 5, the 25s, those need to be very quick. You don't want to waste time on a calculator. How about 3? Ooh, what's this? This is a ratio. Yeah, we can do that. That's okay. We can change that. We can do times 10 and times this by 10. What does that turn into? It's going to be 30 ... 100, which is, yeah, 30%. It's out of 100. Look at this. This is out of 200. We need to go the other way, right? We're not going to times this. We're going to divide it by 2. This is how I prefer you do division of numbers. You do the line like this and divide that by 2. Trust me, it's going to help you out later on. And that's going to break down to 25 ... 100, which is what? You guessed it. I hope you didn't guess it. I hope you figured it out. And then we've got this one here, 100 out of 200. That's going to break down to 50 ... 100. How did I do that? Divide by 2, yeah, both of them. And that's going to be 50%. Plus, you look at it, 100 is half of 200, so it's 50%. Decimal 23. I'm going to show you one long way of doing this. I'm going to show you the shortcut. Decimal 23 is 23 out of 100, literally. Because that's tenths and hundredths. So we have 23 out of 100, that's just 23%. The shortcut with decimal, any decimal, all you do is bump the decimal 2 times forward. Boom, boom. You put it here and you get whatever is, that's the number, 23%. We could do it here. Look, bump, bump. You put it there, you get 56%. Right? You get 56 decimal zeros. That's just 56%. You do it to this one. I'm going to show you the improper fraction. This is 1 whole and 22 out of 100. Squeeze that 100 in. As an improper fraction, it's 100 times 1 plus 22 makes 122 out of 100. If you forgot how to do that, watch my lesson on improper fractions. And that's just 122 out of 100. What do we call anything that's out of 100? That's right, 122%. And I have the exact same one over here, but the shortcut is just bump the decimal forward twice. You get 122 decimal. That's just 122%. What do we do though, however? What do we do if We can't, look, what do we times 7 by to turn it to 100? There is no such number. There's a decimal version of it. Yeah, you can multiply by some weird decimal number, but who wants to waste time doing that? Look what you do. You do long division. Oh no, yeah, look, you're gonna hate me for this, but you're gonna love me in about 1 minute. I go 5 first. I put the 7 outside, and then I put a decimal here, decimal 0. Let's put a few zeros. We're gonna go 7 goes into 5. It doesn't. Multiply them, you get 0. Subtract them, you get 5. That's the steps for long division. If you don't remember this, watch my video on long division. You drop this number here, and don't forget the decimal. Line it up on top. We don't drop decimals. 7 goes into 50 7 times. That makes 49. That gets you 1. Drop this number here. 7 goes into 10 1 time. That's a 1. And then we've got 7, subtract, you get 3, drop that. 7 goes into 30, 4 times. Now look, I've got enough numbers here. I've got a decimal number. This is 0.714. Bump the decimal twice. That's the rule for decimals. And you've got yourself 71.4%, which just rounds to 71%. I'm not going to get you doing long division every time. You're allowed to once in a while use this baby. In which case you just go 6 divided by 13. 6 divided by 13 equals decimal 46. Look, decimal 46. Always write the third number. That's a 1 in this case because that last number will tell you if you should round this to a 7 or keep it a 6. And since it's a 1, we just keep this a 6, which is 46%. Right? You just bump it 2 times forward and you guys 46%. 21 out of 23. Let's do that one. 21 divided by 23. 23 equals, look at this one. We've got, I'm going to write 3 numbers, 0.913. That 3 tells me that the 1's going to stay the same. It only increases it if it's 5 or bigger. So I've got 91%. So if you got a 21 out of 23 mark on an exam, you've got yourself 91%. Now turn these into decimals. Look, 26% is 26 out of 100. Okay, that's decimal 26. I know that because look at place value. Tenths, hundredths. 26 out of 100, they match. If they match, it's right. So we did it. We turned it in. That's all I want. Turn it to a decimal. Now turn it to a fraction. Well, we did that. That was step 1. Turn it into a ratio. First, reduce. Break them in half. We could do that. 13 out of 50. Can't break this down anymore. 13 decimal or 13 colon 50. That's my ratio. Here's my fraction. This would not get you full marks. This one here would get you some marks taken off. This one will get you full marks because it's reduced. And this is fine. This is a percent. This is a decimal. Doing it to the second one, what can we do for that one? Well, we're going to do this. We're going to say this is going to be our fraction. This is going to be our decimal. This is going to be our ratio. Break this down. Let's see, what goes into 78 and 100? I don't know, but I know that 2 goes into both of them. So that would make 39 over 50. And there's nothing that goes into 39 and 50, so it's in lowest terms. This would be the fraction. This would be the ratio. And now I've got full marks. I'm going to move this stuff over because it's wasting my space. I'm going to do now the last one. This is going to be my fraction. That's not in lowest form. I just want it to write my decimal. And now I can write in lowest terms. Let's see, what goes into both of these? Well, let's see, 135. Well, look, we can do 1 and 35 hundredths. Oh my God, what did I just do? I just turned this into a mixed fraction so that I can reduce this easier. And now I know that 5 goes into both of them. It goes into this one here 7 times, the number 5, and 5 goes into 120 times. That's in lowest terms. Now put it back. I got 27 out of 20. 27 out of 20. That's going to be my ratio. I've got 27 ... 20. That's my ratio. This or that can be my fraction. Not this one. This one lose mark because it's not lowest terms. You're going to get charts. You have to fill these in. Fraction would be this. What's the ratio? Well, look what we can do here. We can show our work a little bit. We can say 1 3/10 is just 1 3/10. That could be my decimal. Let me write my decimal here. 1.3. I've got my decimal done. I know my percent. How do I know it? Because look, you just take this and move it 2 times. You get 130%. Any decimal, if you take it twice, you're going to get the percent. Now I just need my ratio. Okay, let's take 1 3/10. Turn it in proper form. That would make 10 times 1 plus 3 is 13 over 10, which is 13 dot 10. 13 .10. What about turning question 2 now? We have a ratio. We got to turn it to a fraction. We've got to turn it now. That's easy, right? You just take your ratio. 3 over 4. That's my fraction. It's done. Okay. Decimal form. Oh, okay. Well, let's see here. Decimal and percent. I can take this and turn it to a percent. I can just times this by 20. 4 times 20. And times the 3 by 20. Because I need or it's not 20, 25, right? Good job on catching that. We've got 75 out of 100. This makes 75 out of 100, which is 75%. And then as a decimal form, what's 3 out of 4? Decimal 75. Right? 75 out of 100. What is that? Decimal 75. Tenths, hundredths. Hundredths, they match. We've got this one here. We can turn it easily to a percent. 55%. Just move the decimal twice. We've got the percent now. We can write it as a ratio. We can turn that to a fraction. Look, percent is a fraction. That's 55 out of 100. And then what do? We're going to shrink it down. We can divide by 5. What can that be? Well, 5 goes into 55, 11. And 5 goes into 100, 20 times. We've got 11 out of 20. 11 out of 20, which is 11 dot 20 in ratio form. I'll let you play around with this one, but you should get this as an answer. You should get decimal 92. You should get 92 out of 100, which breaks down into 46 out of 50, which breaks into 30 or 23 out of 25. And that can be our fraction, 23 out of 25, which is 23. What do you think the second number is? Yeah, 25. The last question. Sort these numbers in order from largest to smallest. How do we do that? Okay, let's take a look at this. We need to make them all the same. You can't have, you can't have decimals and pictures and percents and ratios and fractions. They all have to be the same. Either they're all fractions, they're all percents, they're all decimals, they're all ratios. Personally, I find decimals to be the easiest way to go, or percents. Let's turn these all into percents. Let's do it for this one here. This is simple to turn into a percent. That's just 40. If we move it twice, we're going to get 43.5%. What does that 5 do to the 3? Yeah, it bumps it up to 44. 44% if you round it. How about this one? This is what? This is 3 colored out of 6. 3 out of 6. Oh my God, what do we do? Look, take your calculator, divide these two. If you do that, go 3 divided by 6, you're going to get decimal 50. Yes, that's 50%. Move the decimal. So this makes 50%. This is 52%. This one here, 2 out of 5. I'm going to write it in fraction form. You know what? No, I'm not going to write it in fraction form. I'm going to times this. I'm going to leave it as a ratio. This makes what? Times 20. Times 20, because that'll make 100. That'll make a 40 here, and we've got 40%. And this one here, I'm going to times by 4, times this by 4. You're going to get 80 out of 100, which is 80%. Look, 80%, 40%, 50%, 44%. I think now it's pretty easy to arrange in order.